Hello guys, I'm Paul. I am from Worldwide Test Consultants. Today my session is about RestAssured Framework. So the prerequisite for this session will be download and install Java and Eclipse and install Maven using the Eclipse Marketplace. So in today's session we will create a simple Maven project, then write a sample RestAssured Framework. We'll be using some of the RESTful methods like get with parameters, and we will be explaining you the parsing of the response using JSON. We have a JSON path for that, and then we will be executing and checking some of the results using the assert command. So let's get started. First, I will create a simple JUnit class. So I'll create a JUnit project and just mention as a simple project, and use a name like test dot you can mention it com dot test dot rest assured. You can use the same name for artifact id and then hit on finish. So let me change the name, it's already existing. And we will mention the pom file as well. I will mention this as number 2 and then finish. So you can see the folder structure and other things, everything is created, and we have the pom.xml file. So for this project we will be requiring rest assured jar files, the libraries and the JUnit libraries. I'll just copy these dependencies and use that in the pom file. Then we will first of all build this project so that all the libraries are installed. We will run this as a Maven build. We'll mention the goal as clean install. So you can see that it is downloading all the things from the Maven repo, and it is getting downloaded from the internet. It will take a while. So this shows build as success, and we can see all the Maven dependencies has been downloaded. Now what we will do is we will create a JUnit test case, and then we'll be writing our rest assured based framework. So let's create the JUnit test case, mention it as rest assured test case. Now first of all we'll be creating the rest assured object, which will be a public we will be mentioning the public variable, so that it will be easy to use in all the test steps, and it will be easy to maintain. So we mention this as rest assured I mention as public static rest assured, and then the variable name will be rest assured. We will include this import, which is io.restAssured. Now we'll be writing a before class annotation. If you want to know about this annotation, you can refer my first video for the JUnit framework. So before before class will basically run only once before the test case is executed. So we will be setting up the rest assured URI in this particular method. We will first of all create the method name as setup, and then we will mention the URI. Let's import this first of all. Then we will mention the rest assured URI using the same variable that we created over here, and we will mention the base URI. So today for testing purpose we will be using this particular request response .in API to just check whether we are able to configure rest assured services. This is a RESTful web service. So this is the main site for them. So you have all the get post input methods that you can utilize here. It is all absolutely free. So what we will do here is we will try to make a request from here. So first of all I will mention the URI, base URI, as this part. This is basically a user's API, and it has a parameter called page. So so in page 1 it will show all the members from page 1. I think they have maintained this is like page 1 and page 2, which all members are visible on page 1 and which all members are visible in page 2, something like that. So these set of this set of variables are called parameters that we are passing. So I'll explain this in my coding part. Let's first mention this as a base URI, and then we will start building up the request in the test annotation. So for building up the request we require something called rest assured specifications. We will mention the specification as rest assured specification. No, it is called as request specification. Request specification, we will keep the variable as request, and we have to use this particular object, and we have to tell it as a given statement. So this basically says that this particular request is will be pointing to this base URI, and it is, let's first import this, and we can mention the palm as well here, which is basically the parameter for it's like page equal to 2, those kind of parameters here. So I will be explaining you this in detail. First of all, we'll just point this to the request URI, and then in the next step we'll be basically mentioning the API. We'll be building this request API, and then the parameter as well. So first we will create the response using the request.get. So we mention this as response equals to request.get. So if we get this particular user API, this will basically form the complete string for the first instance. Let's just import this. Let me show you the response, how the response is getting formed. So first of all, it hits the base URI, and then we have /API and users. So if we hit something like that we have formed here, so it will give the results like this, which has page number 1 as a default option, basically the parameter. So if we mention this as this one, let's see whether we are able to hit this particular API, and let's print out this response using this simple print method. So our response will be response dot body, and then we will convert this to a string. So let's run this and check whether we are getting the response. You can see the same response is getting generated that we are getting here. It's a long string, and we have the complete response printed over here. So now what I want to do is get into the parameter stage, where we'll mention some parameters to the page, saying that I want the page 2. So what happens is page 1 is having the ID from 1 until 6, and page 2 will be starting from the 7th ID. You can see that page 2 is having 7. So let's now pass this particular parameter, so that we'll get ID as 7 in the first row. So for doing that, we can mention that in request dot query palm. There's something called query palm. So we'll pass this particular page as the parameter value, the parameter variable, and the value will be page number 2. So just mention this as page, and the value will be 2, and then we can mention this as a get inside, and basically hit the API, users API. So we can do a dot get from here as well. So basically we are first doing a query palm and then hitting this web service. So this whole request is formed right now using this particular coding. Okay, so now let's hit the web service again and check if we are getting ID as 7, and just run this as a JUnit test again. And there you go. So we are able to hit ID equal to 7, which page equals to 2, and we have a set of 6 IDs that is mentioned in this. So the next stage, what we want to do is, we just want to get this particular ID, the email ID and first name and stuff like that. So for that to achieve, we will again do a query palm on this particular ID equal to 7. So we will get this particular data and try to see we are able to query this particular piece of data, and we don't want the complete response, we just want the data for this ID equal to 7. So for that to achieve, we will be again using a query palm to further reduce the scope of my response data. We'll mention this as ID and 7. So we have found this particular request, which will only give me data for this particular ID equal to 7. So we'll run it again and see whether we are able to achieve this. So there you go. So it has just returned the data for ID equal to 7, and that's it. It is this just relates to ID equal to 7. Now what we will do is we will try to validate this with an assert, saying suppose I want email ID to be this particular data. So we will do a simple assert, which is assert equals, and provide this email ID as my expected result. And now we want to so before doing this assert, we would require the JSON something called JSON path. So JSON path will basically get the complete response and build a JSON path, and then we can mention the attributes to this that particular path to get the data from this JSON response. So let me initialize JSON path variable. So we'll mention JSON path evaluator as my variable. Evaluator equals to response dot JSON path. So this particular thing will basically point my response to the JSON path variable. So now we have this particular variable which has the complete response, and then first of all we'll try to get this email ID. So for doing that, we will use this JSON path. We will first of all mention a string email, and that will be equals to JSON path evaluator dot get. Now in this get method you can provide the email ID that you want to get, or you can mention data dot email ID. So first of all we have data, and then inside this data we have the next level of data which is you're getting inside the data, and put a dot and then the ID. So this is how it works. So let's get this email ID, and then we will assert this particular data, which is michael.lawson, and we will assert against this particular variable which will fetch me the email ID. So, and just for the testing purpose we can just print out this email ID that is getting built. Yep, so we are all done here. Now we will run this particular test again. So you can see that everything is working fine. So it is able to get this particular email ID that we were expecting to get. This video was all about a simple get method and how to work towards getting a parameter set up, and how to hit this particular web service and different APIs like API user or something else. you can definitely use this particular free API that you want to test. And yeah, we are all set for this. So do subscribe to my channel, which is worldwidetestconsultants.com. I am Paul, signing out from Worldwide Test Consultants. I'll be back with some more videos in the coming future. Hope to see you soon. Have a great day. Bye for now.